You were worried because DWP were asking for your bank statements. Now, what I think you really should be worrying about is their pilot scheme on open banking and their AI system, which is meant to detect fraud, but is actually so biased that not even their own reports on this even stand up to make sense. Now, if you think you shouldn't be concerned by this, listen to me very, very well. I was suspended for a book on self-employment that hadn't even been published. And then after I raised grievances for disability discrimination, I was dismissed for a piece of paper that does not have my name on, does not have my national insurance number on, cannot identify me in any way whatsoever, but was used to say you were doing this at this time, therefore we are firing you. When in actual fact, my own evidence proves that I was standing in the sea with over 300 people on TikTok watching me. This is the danger of digital data being mandated and controlled by one organisation. Now, let's get into the facts. And by the way, I want to thank everybody for buying my health journal. It's over 200 pages. This has been specifically written by me to help you guys win with PIP and helping you to evidence your disability and your health, because we have come into a stage in the UK that if you require any help or support whatsoever, you are literally dragged through a hedge backwards. Excuse the pun, just to try and get something that you should be entitled to. That's not necessarily benefits. It might be support at work. It might be support with the tribunal so that you can sit comfortably or have fire breaks or whatever it is that you need. So this has been written by me. It is available on Amazon. It's lovely. It's very big because I myself have a problem with my hand. So they're nice big spaces to write in, as you can see. It's A4, it's glossy, and I wish you all the best with it. And don't forget, leave me a little review, guys, when you do get it. Thank you. Firstly, I want to bring your attention to this article that was printed in The Guardian recently about bias found in the AI system used to detect UK benefit fraud. Now, without going into this in massive detail, what this actually says is that people who were of a certain age, a disability, a marital status and nationality had or were targeted the most by DWP's own AI system as being allegedly, engaging potentially in fraudulent activity. Their claims were flagged. Now, you may have heard about this when thousands of people were sent these invoices being said that they had had benefit overpayments, housing benefit overpayments, etc., and were literally hounded to pay it back until they realised they'd made an error. Now, my issue with this is that DWP always state that there is going to be a human involved in checking this process. But the actual system, the AI itself, selects the claims. It's not a person selecting the claims. So by that point, the bias has already happened. Now, at the end of the day, the taxpayer is paying for all of these systems, as we can see, £20 million, and is being used to generate all of these systems, all of this work, and cause, quite frankly, quite a lot of problems. Now, I use AI a lot in my company, where we use it for, building websites, doing online business and things like that. And I can tell you now that we have to approach it with real scarcity and a lot of attention to detail, especially when it's coming to GDPR, because the majority of AI is open source. Open source is code which is freely and widely available on the internet. What that means is, because of it, most people can get hold of it, they can read it, they can use it, and some people can even edit it. And that's where, obviously, when we get into the world of hacking and things like that, it can be very dangerous. Now, what the problem here is that this is real people's personal information being fed into massive systems with AI, which is really, really new. Even in the world of tech, we're just at the start of this. We haven't learned an awful lot about it yet. ChatGPT, all these other things are really, 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 really new. And I don't think that they should be used. I don't know what your opinion is of this. I actually don't think they should be used for this type of work yet, because we don't know enough about it. Now, without going into too much detail of the different things I've done when I worked at DWP, I have actually gone through SIFs like this and looked at claims that have been picked up by a system and put on a spreadsheet. Now, all I'm going to say here is that when you're looking at any claim, particularly a universal credit claim, you're looking at like a whole lot of evidence, and you have to have a very open mind, because you cannot predict certain things about a person's life, about their behavior. And if you have a big prejudice, or you have quite a, I would say, quite an aptitude to judge people socially, which really shouldn't happen, but it does in the world of DWP, then I think we are in dangerous grounds here. So I am 100% not a fan of this. DWP's own report here on the model, the fairness and analysis, in fact, of the advances model. So this is AI that they used. Even they said that this AI flagged disabled people, older claimants, and certain nationality groups more than ever. And here is the big fall down and the flaw, in my opinion, of many things with DWP. Instead of admitting that there's a problem and fixing it, they just go, oh, this was expected. And they still, to this day, apparently, are carrying on using this model. Now, I think this is really, really wrong. Particularly with disabled people, because disabled people have a certain lifestyle and have certain habits that are going to be quite different, I would say, from the norm. But again, we cannot generalize. Somebody might be incredibly I would say resourceful with their income and doesn't spend it, but then goes out and, goes and buys a new car, for example, because, they're living on baked beans every single night, baked beans on toast or something. Is that person going to be pulled in for a review because they've gone and bought, a car? There are so many things wrong with this. I just think it is really, really serious, particularly now that DWP have started a pilot on open banking, which I'm going to go into in a moment. Now, because I do have a bit of experience in universal credit, I'm telling you now, I find this report flawed with issues. This is the type of report, I think, that has been written by somebody that is analysing data, who's never worked in a job centre, does not understand how universal credit works. And the reason why I say that is this paragraph 5 in particular. The model risk assesses all new universal credit claim online advance requests referring only the riskiest of advances for an additional fraud prevention invention. Everybody who has had universal credit knows that it's at least a 6-week wait. Sometimes it's an 8-week wait. So by the time people get their universal credit, they're already worrying how the hell they're going to get through the month on £320 a month or whatever it is, and they've begged and borrowed from everybody they know. Most people, in my experience of working in the job centre, when they start a universal credit claim, ask for an online advance so that they can go from where they are now to getting their full payment. So that in itself, for me, is a ridiculous ridiculous thing to be used for a fraud assessment or a measurement of fraud assessment, in my opinion. And let me know in the comments, guys, if you agree with me, those of you that are on universal credit. And I just want to say here, there's no judgment, right? Because plenty of people are on universal credit for all sorts of reasons, and plenty of working people are on universal credit as well. So the Karens in the comments, don't even bother. This paragraph here is also of concern to me, the personal information charter. Now, in my earlier videos last week, I went through the personal information charter. This is basically, the DWP's personal information charter is basically informing you that they are now collecting data on you from absolutely everyone and anything, from your landlord to your sexual health and everything else in between. There's nothing that isn't in there. So all of that information is going to be plugged into AI. I really don't agree with it. So I'm just going to say here, I think AI is great for imagery. I think it's great for brainstorming an idea about something that you wouldn't mind, going outside with a megaphone and talking about, but let's remember, people's personal data contains so many things, and I just think it's really dangerous when we're also considering the world of hacking, identity theft, and so many other things as well. And here we have it, the biggie. The February 2024 analysis identifies a statistically significant referral disparity and outcome disparity for all of the protected characteristics analysed specifically. People of a certain age, people of a certain disability, marriage and civil partnership. Now, I would like to know what those ages are. I would also like to know what specific disability, and I bet you now it's going to be people with mental health, because DWP really hate anything that they cannot see, and marriage and civil partnership too. Really, this is their biggest error, really. There are many errors in this report, in my opinion. I don't consider it to be a very balanced report at all. Now, if you don't maybe understand what's going on here, what DWP are doing here is they are flagging claims of a certain age of people who have a disability or people who are within a certain marriage type or civil partnership as being potentially fraudulent. And that is given, that shows a really bad bias. I mean, when we have biases on this level, or any level at all, but particularly like this, and we're going to potentially going down the route of discrimination. So for them to say bias is expected and proportionate, I just think is the most insane comment that they could make. So here, where do I see that? Let me grab that one for you. I mean, it's just shocking. Due to the nature, here we go. The identified disparities do not translate to any immediate concerns of discrimination or unfair treatment of individuals or protected groups. Well, I, for one, would disagree with that, because how the hell I was suspended for a book that's not even in print on self-employment, as I said, and then fired for a piece of flipping data that was just wrong. Like, I don't actually know to this day if that was made up or if that was a computer error. God only knows. I mean, hopefully the court are going to deal with that. But I mean, you imagine if that was you. You imagine if that was you, and then you get a costs order for 5 million, or they say you now owe 20 years of universal credit on back payments. Like, for them to say that, there is no unfair treatment, well, let's not go there. Right, this part of this paragraph here, I think, is just very, very, very silly. This is literally a textbook rationalization of discrimination, in my opinion. Here, DWP are justifying bias against older and disabled claimants by implying that these groups are naturally riskier. I mean, that's really dangerous thinking, don't you think? And it contradicts as well the public sector equality duty, actually, under the Equality Act of 2010. Right, there is another paragraph that I am finding very, very concerning as well, which is paragraph 18 and 19. Now here, when we look at these two kind of mini paragraphs here under 18, so the caveats and limitations and the data used for the February fairness, I mean, the way they come up with their words, the fairness analysis, universal credit, I mean, who thinks these names up? Who? Anyway, the risk of underreported referral or outcome disparity where proxy data has been used, i.e. age, disability, nationality, marriage and civil partnership, and the risk associated with undetected referral or outcome disparity where data was not available to complete the analysis for a protected characteristic, i.e. race, sex, sexual orientation, religion or belief, pregnancy or maternity. Right, if you don't understand what I'm getting at here, let me break it down for you a bit, guys. So in these two paragraphs, half the legally protected characteristics under the Equality Act weren't even analysed. So how can you say it's fair? So in one part, they're saying people with disabilities over a certain age are more likely to commit fraud, but then half of the majority of all the characteristics weren't even analysed. So we can't really call it a fair report because it's not even balanced on that level, on demographics alone. So, and they even say either due to missing data or unsuitable proxies. Well, if they're collecting all the data from everybody, why is it missing? Why is the data missing? What is an unsuitable proxy? Something that puts their little report at a disadvantage, I should imagine. Right, paragraph 20. We assume safeguards fix everything. That is another biggie. Let's have a little look at that one. And again, only DWP would write this and think there's nothing wrong with it. There are no immediate concerns of unfair treatment or detrimental impact in respect of these protected characteristics at present because the safeguards in place apply to all customers requesting a new universal credit claim online advance. Therefore, the same protection against unfair treatment or detrimental impact applies to all legitimate customers, including those with protected characteristics not analysed or analysed using proxy data. And I don't honestly have to spell that one out. That is just, it's only DWP would like, who wrote this? Who wrote this? I just like, you're fired. You're just fired. So I am going to break it down because it beggars belief. This is what it's like dealing with like the management at DWP. Insane. So here in this paragraph, they admit they can't test bias for several groups, right? Specifically those that fall into those that those that would fall into a group that would be protected by the Equality Act. But then they claim that there's no immediate concern because safeguard exists, without providing any evidence whatsoever that those safeguards actually work. I mean, this is entire circular reasoning. It's not compliance. This is not compliance at all. One more paragraph before we go into something else. Now, bear in mind, I have just read out a paragraph written by DWP that say there's no risks. There's no safeguarding risks. Okay. It is acknowledged the February 2024 fairness analysis does not analyse the intersectionality of protected characteristics. So if you haven't analysed it, you cannot say that you have assessed for safeguarding. You just cannot. It is therefore feasible that disparities measured for one characteristic may be a result of intersectionality. I don't know what's happened with my mouse, so it's going a bit weird. But we're on paragraph 2022. Example, an older person with a reported disability or a younger person who is single may feature in both sets. Like, whoever put this together and thought this was a good idea needs to go back to university to study analysing data and statistics. And whoever published this needs to go back to university to understand how to write a report that actually makes sense. Because I find that, considering this is representing our government, the AI systems that our government is using, and they come up with this type of Mickey Mouse report, I mean, do they think the general public are just absolutely stupid? Or do they think we just don't care? Because maybe I'm just a round peg in a square hole. I do not know. I just cannot... There is a robust suite of safeguards in place which applies equally to all legitimate customers. How can they even say that with everything they just put before this? Irrespective of their protected characteristics, to provide protection from the risk of unfair treatment or detrimental impact. I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think about that. And you better think fast, because if you read paragraphs 26 to 28 that go on here, they say that basically they're going to carry on. Fairness analysis will also be undertaken as an integral part of further work to iterate and improve the model. Well, I would have said stop now, improve this before you go any further. I mean, I don't know about anyone else. This is insane. So I think this is very, very serious. This clearly doesn't work. It is like the amount... I'm going to call up all of the information now that they're talking about. So this is the system. This is the framework and the system, the AI that is being used to control all of your data, and then the system's going to match up with your bank, and if information doesn't seem to cross match well and they think there's something not right, you're going to be pulled in for or put under surveillance or whatever for fraud or God knows what else. And if it gets to the digital ID, if it gets like anything in China, you're like, it would just be suspended. Like your access to banking suspended. I don't know if you know this. I'm going to give you an example of this. So years ago, I used to write educational curriculums for a Beijing powerhouse. And whilst I wasn't in China, I used to have to work with the company. So we used to do lots of, talks. I would meet with the families and with the schools and with the thises and the that's, and, be involved quite a lot in everybody's life. In China, for people that don't know, you go from district to district, town to town, and there's like turnpikes, like metal turnpikes. You can only get into the next part of the town or the city or the village if you're cleared with Face ID. You have a phone, and it tells you, it looks like a credit rating report on your phone, and it will tell you, it kind of gives you a score on your digital behavior. So if let's just say you're off work, and they'll be able to see that on the stuff in China, on the digital ID on China. You're off work, you're not very well. And then, it pops up, you've just popped out to the shop to get a beer. Well, no, in China, that would be stopped. It would be stopped, and then you will have points taken off of your digital ID because you've gone out and bought a beer when you haven't gone to work because you said you were poorly, obviously. So they're saying, well, now, obviously that I'm giving you, a hypothesis there to play with, which obviously wouldn't, we would hope if you would hope if you're not well enough to go to work, you wouldn't pop down the road to have a beer. But some people might, right? But the point is, how far is this going to be taken? How far is it going to be taken? No, you can't have access to money now. We've decided you're drinking too much, or let's just say you are an alcoholic, and no, you can't buy any more beer, whatever it is you drink, whatever. So very, very, very concerning. Now, earlier I mentioned DWP's, or the government's DWP's personal information charter. So this is basically everything. I mean, it would be very useful if you're interested to read it, because it's quite it goes far, wide and deep with all of the new policies that have come out or will be coming out next month. So let's just have a little look here. What DWP uses personal information for an awful lot of things, but the types of data that they use: personal details, family lifestyle, social circumstances, goods or services provided. And then it went further down here. DWP also processes sensitive information, your sexual life, your genetic data, your biometric data. I mean, and then who they hold information about. There is literally anything and everything, but it's also about sharing information. How DWP shares information about you. So the issue here is, once this is all done with digital ID, as they are suggesting it's going to be, all of this is going to be on it. Trust me. It's not just going to be your face, your name, and your national insurance number. Every single thing about you is going to be on a chip on that digital ID. And with the amount of mistakes that DWP make, and because it's an organisation that just doesn't own it, they do not own their errors, they do not own their mistakes. Nobody can tell me that they do. My life has been, I've gone through hell for 4 years because of their own bloody errors, but they're too pig ignorant to admit their errors and just put it right. Instead, they will make up nonsense, they will fabricate nonsense, and God knows what. So no, I'm sorry, I'm not at all happy about this, and I don't know what you guys think, but I think we're going down the shady groves of the slippery slopes of dystopian hell. God knows, yeah. So do you know what I think would have been much better for DWP to have done? If I'd have been in charge of DWP, there is a clear problem with public confidence with DWP, and that's because of the manner in which they conduct themselves. If they'd worked better on that changed their image, did, a whole load of things to prove to the general public that they aren't these kind of like slithering snakes, people might feel like more inclined to engage with or accept what they're trying to force onto people. And force is the right word here, because I'm hearing, oh, you don't need to have digital ID, and I keep hearing this word, actually, this phrase, like free digital ID. Like, why who even, well, where's the free bit? Why are we talking about it being free or not free? Or like, what, one, and secondly, like, it's going to be easier for who? It's not going to, like, because I'm telling you, I've 4 years in court, I've been with DWP. Who is it easier for? It's not bloody easy for me. So who's it easy for? Make that make sense. Like, come on. Let's not. They've got big issues to sort out before they do all this sort of shenanigans, in my opinion. I'm not happy at all about any of this. Let me know in the comments, guys. It's been a long one, but sometimes we just have to get into the meat and the bones of this stuff and, grind it out. So let me know what you think about this. I'm going to leave a link to this document down below so you can go and read it and study it, and just let me know what you think about this. Insane. Absolutely insane.